Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. So today I'm going to be doing the BookTube Journey Tag, a creation of Katie at Books and Things. This is a version of a tag which has gone around BookTube, first as the Shakespeare Journey Tag, created by Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, and Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse, and Nicole at A Day of Small Things. It was then revised by Ros at Scally-Dandying About the Book, and Tilly at Tilly's Shelf as the Victorian Literature Journey Tag, and so now it is the BookTube Journey Tag. It has quite a number of prompts. Number 1, how long have you been watching BookTube? I am not 100% sure. 3 years? My channel started out as a venue for me to read poetry aloud, hence the title, David Novak Reads Poetry. After the January 6th insurrection attempt, I allowed the channel to lapse, but having begun the YouTube channel, I started to go around on YouTube, and not knowing that there was such a thing as BookTube, as such, I was following some booktubers. Number 2, how long have you been making BookTube videos? I think about a year exactly. I would have to look that up. Number 3, what made you start making videos? I'm not sure. I think it was just the sheer multiplicity of booktubers that I was watching by that point. It made me say, hey, I want to have part of this conversation as a spouter, if you will. Spouter, get it? And so I have done for a year now. Number 4, are there any people who have played a significant role in your BookTube journey? Well, I could think of a couple. Steve Donahue is one. He probably was a major impetus in getting me to do this, and also a major impetus in just letting me realize that there was such a sphere as BookTube. I realized that most of the booktubers that I follow, the number is rising every day, but most of them seem to have an early connection with Steve Donahue, and his is the name most frequently mentioned by other booktubers that I watch, whether it be to praise or to revile him. He is certainly not the only one. Fariba, now of Fariba Reads, was a big early influence, although her channel has gone under different headings. She was the Francophile reader, possibly the very first channel that I was watching regularly. And then she became the eclectic reader, and now it is Fariba Reads, just beginning to put out some new content after a period of shorts. And I should add that a mainstay for me has been Brian at Bookish. His channel represents sort of the ideal to which I would strive. Of course, I can't, there is nothing about me, and future prompt will reveal that exhibits or exudes that kind of smoothness, that suavity, that debonair je ne sais quoi that you find at Brian's channel, except when he has that guest dude bro fill in for him. He really is a role model in BookTube. Number 5, what kind of books do you like to read? Mainly history. I have not done a lot of poetry reading for years, for decades. I will read a poetry book if something new passes by my ken. If I happen to see a new translation by an old poet, which I never saw, that sort of thing. But poetry is certainly not a mainstay of my reading, and history has been. How has that changed since you started on BookTube? Pardon me. How has that changed since you started on BookTube? Well, I am expanding my reading a little bit. This year I am making a dedicated effort to read mammoths. Mammoths are a thing, and on BookTube I learned that they are a thing that other people have attempted and conquered. There's even a guy named Aaron Facer who has read all of Proust. You wouldn't think it was possible, but it is. And so fellow booktubers have given me a lot of inspiration in that regard, but I have also expanded. So I am reading more natural history. And last year, I don't know that it will carry over this year since I am focusing on mammoths, but last year I began to read short stories, which has not been a mainstay for me. Number 7. What kind of videos do you most like to make? Well, I left my answer here blank because I don't know. I like to make a video where I have a clean beginning and a clean ending, and I'm not too garbled in between. It's frequently not possible for me to succeed at that, but that is the ideal. Number 8. How has that changed since you started on BookTube? Do you think your video making style has changed over time? I think I'm a little bit less nervous. Those first videos, I was a bit jittery. I'm less so, but I still, sitting in front of the camera, I am jittery. Were there a cat around at the moment, I would be even more jittery because this new location at which I am filming puts the camera in something of a precarious position. However, they seem to lack all interest this evening. Number 9, do you script and or edit your videos, and has that changed over time? I've tried early on particularly to have different talking points that I was really aiming to hit. I do less of that because it seems that when I make a point of hitting one talking point that seems important, then I forget a bunch of other things which really probably are more important. To the extent that any of my yammering about books is important, which obviously it's not. But I found that having some kind of outline hampers my delivery. It's better to be extemporaneous and just leave out chunks of stuff. If you, as with writing poetry, if you leave out a big chunk of something which you intended, well, it probably didn't need to be there in the first place. I will, however, cut errors. It's inevitable that one misspeaks. I have not yet figured out how to put the words across the screen so that when I say the word cat when what I meant was dog, as I did in a recent video, I just have to let it go. Sometimes I'll put a note in the description. So I have not learned that yet, and perhaps I am just too lazy. I don't want to put a lot of effort into the behind the scenes work that go into making a video. 10. What's the most viewed video on your channel? I believe it is the recent video that I did about mammoths, and I was particularly discussing my set of Chinese mammoth novels, which I hope one day to read. I don't know if I made that just before I read The Journey to the West or if I made that whilst I was reading The Journey to the West, but I have others. I will put a link to that in the description box below, as well as to videos by these other booktubers that I have mentioned. I will have the list of prompts in the description and so forth. What's your favorite video you've ever made? Well, it is probably the recent video that I put out under the title Raining Cats and Dogs, in which I just showed all of the cats which reside at this address. It was made some time ago, and I was awaiting spousal approval before putting it up, and I got that, so it just went up a couple of days ago. 12. Do you have a favorite book that you read because of BookTube? And yes, that was The Night of the Living Res by Morgan Talty, which I heard about from Brian at Bookish. I would never have heard of it, never have picked it up, but for Brian's recommendation. Do you have a favorite BookTube experience to tell us about? This is a question where I drew a blank. As far as my own making of videos, there has been nothing that leaps out at me the way a certain cat around here might do. My greatest delight has been watching other booktubers and partaking in some of the comments. I have gotten to a phase where when I post a video, occasionally somebody will leave me a thoughtful comment, and I am really delighted when that happens. You feel validated in some way. Oh, yeah. I copied my prompts from Kelly's video, Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, who was so gracious to tag me, and she mentioned that her favorite experience lately was the I'm So Annoyed BookTube tag, which was a tag that spread like wildfire. And I did a version of that. If I think of it, I'll put that in the links as well. And I don't think she even totally realizes the impact that tag had. Just before her tag came out, somebody made a tag and said, "This is going to be my last tag. I don't think anybody is doing tags on BookTube anymore. Tags are dying on BookTube." Then Kelly's tag came out and everyone did it all over the place. And now all of a sudden, tags are coming from all quarters. I've gotten several tags just in a couple of days, and it's kind of remarkable, really. So it has caused a flourishing of tagging on BookTube. What does your book collection look like? Well, sadly, my book collection looks like a bit of a mess, sort of like I do most of these days. I'm a bit cramped for space, and so I try to have things subdivided into category. And let me just look out and tell you what I see. It would be sort of disgusting to show you. So there's in the first column, there is largely books pertaining to Africa. Trying to think what else. There's little odds and ends that just don't really belong, but the shelf is tiny, and so some like mass market paperbacks can go in there. So there are other things that don't particularly belong. And then there's a bottom part which has sort of, I forget what they're called, like Folio Society editions, books that are precious, something to look at. So then the second row is basically my poetry and theater shelf. Now, I got rid of all of my theater books and put them into a box in the basement. I don't see myself doing theater at this time. And so I removed them all to where I can find them if I need them, which does not happen very often. And here and there I pick up something, and so it will go there until such time as I am able to file it back into the basement. So I have the poetry. Down at the bottom, I have anthologies, which are poetry and other anthologies. And I forget what is up on the top part of that. Not poetry, but something else. I think it's Latin American stuff, kind of odds and ends pertaining to slavery, sugar making, that sort of thing. So then the third column is where you have Greece, ancient Greece, all of my Moses Finley, and then that at the top I have, I think I have memoirs and letters and biographies, and at the bottom I have science and art. So the science and art I tie in with ancient Greece. Then the next section, the fourth section, is ancient Rome. And up at the top there, I have literary criticism, and then we have ancient Rome. And then ancient Rome bleeds into Western history. So the Crusades, the Vandals, I guess, that sort of thing would be there. And I think that cascades even into the bottom with the same sort of thing. Now the fifth section is a bit more confusing. Up at the very top, I have philosophy and religion, packed in so tight that you can barely see what's there, but it's not a area that I delve into very often. And then I have some just odds and ends of novels, and then I have more novels and more novels and more novels in that section. And then the final section, the sixth section, is generally speaking Asia. I forget what is, well, at the very top I have American stuff. So say something about the civil rights movement, slave narratives, racism, that kind of thing would be up there. And then I go into Asia, all kinds of Asian stuff, and that goes down till there's a little bit of odds and ends and overflow of novels as well. So it's all very confusing. And then I have other stuff in the basement in boxes, either stuff that I don't touch or picture books and art books that I probably should just get rid of, and books that I have read in the last couple of years. I'll hold on to them in that spot. What advice, number 15, would you give to new people starting a BookTube channel? And that, I think the advice generally that's gone around has been to be yourself. I don't really know what to add to that. With 1 year under my belt, I hardly consider myself a professional at this. I hardly consider myself to have had some journey to speak of. It has been a journey, no doubt, but I would not advise anybody to take advice from me. I mostly get by at the, how is the expression, by the seat of my pants. I would say, do not try to do too many videos in a day. Do not try to push out too much content. I have done that. I am trying to keep it regular. And I would say a cardinal rule, which I break almost every single time, is that shorter probably tends to be better. That's also a rule for writing, which I also have notoriously broken here and there. So I will leave this here. Kelly, thank you again for tagging me. And I will not tag anybody because a lot of people have been doing this tag. If you are a booktuber and this tag appeals to you, you can go to my description for the prompts, and I invite you to make a version of this tag yourself. Thank you very much for stopping by my channel.